Joining me today on the Capital TV show, Ezra Friedlander. He's an Orthodox Jewish CEO of the Friedlander Group. Hello, Ezra. How are you today?
Hi, good afternoon.
We've met on an event at the Senate building. There was many senators, congressmen, congresswomen talking about the Jewish Heritage Month. Can you tell us more about this event, the occasion? How did you organize it? What is the feedback?
Sure. So every May, we celebrate Jewish Heritage Month here in the United States. There are different opportunities to pay tribute to different ethnic groups throughout the year. For example, in February, it's Black History Month, an opportunity to recognize the African American Black experience, the contributions of Black Americans to the United States. And I believe March is Women's History Month. May has been proclaimed by the president as Jewish Heritage Month. This is an ongoing effort. It started in the late 1970s, early 1980s during the Carter and Reagan administration, when there's sort of a week that was announced that this week we're going to have a Jewish Heritage Week, but it wasn't formalized until Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I believe it was in 2006, passed the resolution with then Republican Senator Arlen Specter from Pennsylvania, the late Arlen Specter, to have an annual celebration of Jewish contributions to the United States. And they selected May as that month, and the president issued a proclamation. And since then, May is known as Jewish Heritage Month. So we had an event in the United States Congress that paid tribute to the contributions of Jewish Americans to the fabric of the United States, going back 200 years, but even ongoing as well.
What are the challenges that the Jewish community is facing? Is there any topic that you have concern about? Is there any legislation coming up from this event? Tell us more.
So Jewish Heritage Month is an opportunity to recognize how Jews have contributed to the United States. In other words, every year there's a different theme. Sometimes we focus on Jews in sports. Sometimes we focus on Jews in science. Sometimes we focus on Jews in public service, Jews in business. And as you know, Jews make up maybe 2% of the population, but we contribute we surpass our contribution in terms of population. If you look at the Jewish Nobel Prizes, there's maybe, I haven't looked recently, but it's definitely more than just 2%. So we focus on, it's an opportunity for Jews to gather and to recognize what we've contributed to the United States. In terms of legislation, there isn't a specific piece of legislation that we are interested to promote. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to celebrate our ongoing contribution to the United States, we live in this great country, and it's an opportunity for us to for the United States government, for Jews to come together and focus on that.
Let me ask you about the Arab Jews. You are familiar with this community in the Middle East. You've visited Egypt. You met President Sisi, and can you tell us how they are integrated in the Middle East? Are they facing any anti-Semitism problems or something like that?
Look, I'm not an expert in terms of the welfare of Jews in Arab countries. I believe that Jews in Arab countries, I know in Morocco, for example, there's a vibrant Jewish community. Unfortunately, in Egypt, there aren't as many Jews as there were. It's a dwindling population. But I know when I met President Sisi, he said, we hope that Jews will come back and we will build synagogues and we will do whatever we can to make Jews feel at home. So I'm not an expert. I mean, I'm sure that Jews in Syria don't do that well. I mean, I don't know how many Jews there are in which countries. I'm not an expert at that, but
Yeah. But from your point of view, how do you see the family Abraham house? Like there is all this,
are you talking about that?
yeah,
Well, look, since the Abraham Accords, for example, there have been, I think, multiple Pesach programs, Passover programs in the UAE, in Dubai, and Jews have been, Israelis and Jews in general have been traveling to the UAE, to Bahrain, to countries that signed that are part of the Abraham Accords. So in terms of that, yes, it's created a positive revolution, if you will. And yeah, that's very significant, actually.
do you think that, do you think that Saudi Arabia one day will join these accords? Do you think these accords will expand to be for example, you know the situation in Lebanon. Lebanon consider Israel as an enemy. Any hope to create more peace?
Look, Lebanon is a mess. I mean, it's a mess. It used to be years ago. My parents would tell me it was it was called the Paris of the Middle East. Unfortunately, for many decades, it's not been that way. In terms of Saudi Arabia, I don't think they'll be joining the Abraham Accords anytime soon. I think it's very complicated. Saudi Arabia and the State of Israel do have unofficial ties with each other. I mean, that's like the worst kept secret. Bahrain and the UAE wouldn't have signed agreements if Saudi Arabia didn't greenlight it, if you will. So I think that's a given. It'll take some time before they saw. A lot will have to happen, especially on the Palestinian front. Saudi Arabia is in a different category than the other countries that signed the Abraham Accords.
Yeah. Do you think that the agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran can be considered as a threat to Israel?
Yes and no. I think that the same challenges facing Saudi Arabia from Iran still exist. It's probably a temporary band-aid and the reason why they did that was because I don't want to get into the details, but I don't think it had to do with Israel. I think it had more to do with the West than with Israel. I think the understandings that exist between Saudi Arabia and Israel were not affected by their restoring diplomatic ties with Iran.
Yeah. You are the CEO of a firm that your work is into public relations or lobbyist. You are a lobbyist.
Correct.
I heard that you have some work to do for Turkey, Erdogan. How do you see the elections, upcoming elections, and what do you want to promote about Turkey?
Turkey is plays a very pivotal role. I represent the Embassy of Turkey here in Washington, and the U.S.-Turkish relationship is extremely important. Turkey is a leader. Turkey is an important regional power, and the United States should not only maintain its relationship with Turkey, but should enhance it. Without Turkey's role in NATO wouldn't be what it is today. So I think that the Turkish relationship is extremely important to the United States.
What lesson did you learn from working with politicians serving in the General Assembly of the state of New York?
Well, they say all politics is local, or you need to build relationships. Every development in the political world is based on mutual interests, but also relationships. And interpersonal relationships are very, very, very important. Without that, nothing gets done. And sometimes years later, when people write their books, it's the personal chemistry that sometimes seals the deal. So that's what I've learned here in working in New York State with New York State officials, and the same is applicable for dealing with Washington as well, and internationally as well. It's all about relationships.
I have a question from a friend. He asked you, did the Jews make contribution to the art of public relations?
Absolutely. I mean, Jews have been contributing to in every sphere, in every field, in every profession. You will always find Jewish Americans, and that's really why we're celebrating Jewish Heritage Month in the month of May. It's an important initiative that also fights anti-Semitism, because, as you know, there's a tremendous increase in anti-Semitic incidents over the past couple of years. But when people stop and they don't realize what Jewish Americans have done to make the United States the great country that it is. So, for example, people don't know even in technology, what Jews have contributed. There's a joke that says if you're an anti-Semite, then you might as well not use certain products because it was invented by Jews, whether it's the polio vaccine or whether it's other initiatives. People don't understand that, and that's the overriding mission of Jewish Heritage Month, is to remind Americans that we need to celebrate the contributions of Jewish Americans. And that's why you joined us in Washington last week. It was an opportunity. Members of the House of Representatives, like you said before, and the Senate all came together. We had Jews, we had non-Jews, we had Jews, Christians, Muslims, non-believers. Everyone was invited to participate, and I was very happy that you joined us as well.
Thank you, Ezra. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time, and I will wish you all the best. Hey, Maria Malouf here. Please click to like and subscribe to Maria Malouf TV YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.